It was just such a stark contrast in the way they played in week one. I know a lot of that, obviously is matchups and who you're playing against. But then DJ Swearinger said afterwards, I think he said it on Grant and Danny's show that, that maybe that a little complacency. It was impossible to believe that team could be complacent after one game, but that, they didn't practice that well. He says all this after the fact. Was there any hint of that leading into the game to sort of give that opinion any validity?
No, but again, that's going to be hard to see sometimes. For instance, we don't watch the practices, so you don't know how the practices themselves are going. I think this team likes each other, and that's an interesting sort of thing to watch this year because teams don't always bond as well, and I think this one has. And maybe it got a little loose. Maybe guys felt a little overexcited after that first game. I think they believe in themselves more than maybe some teams and maybe some other Redskins teams in the past have. So maybe that did kind of settle in a little bit. It's funny. Everyone started picking at the thing about the offensive linemen wearing the shirts and ties to practice on Friday. What did Trent call it? The Business Friday, and suddenly Business Friday was every example of what's wrong with this team and its loose attitude and unprofessionalism. Of course, if they had pulled that game out, it would have been, gosh, what an example of how together this team is. And look at it, they're doing Business Friday. So, sometimes these things can get overblown after losses, and the other way around, it can get overblown after wins. I think the test will come with the cohesiveness of this group if it stays together and it continues to be as close now that they've faced some adversity. I'd kind of like to see how that goes over the next couple of weeks.
Joined by Les Carpenter, covers the Washington Redskins for the Washington Post. We've talked about the lack of pass rush the first couple of games, but there are some statistics which actually say the Redskins are better than you expect rushing the passer. Andrew Luck got rid of the ball so fast, maybe they didn't have a chance to sack him, but they had 16 pressures in the game, and Jonathan Allen right now ranks in the top 6 for Pro Football Focus's grade for interior defensive linemen, and I believe better than that, second best pressure rate among all interior.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways you throw out whatever happened in the first game because you're playing against Sam Bradford, and he's not going to be very mobile, and Arizona was just obviously out of sync as they apparently have been all season. But if you look at the Indianapolis game, sometimes pressuring Andrew Luck is the worst thing you can do. I thought they did get at least a little bit of a rush against him, and I didn't necessarily think that was the problem the other day. I thought the real problem the Redskins faced was that they were just getting constantly picked in the secondary. I mean, over and over and over again. And if you kind of watch the replay of that one touchdown that kind of sealed the game, one where Josh Norman sort of standing on the goal line, he's got T.Y. Hilton on one side catching the ball, and he's got another guy open on the other side. If you watch that play as it sort of kind of came together, I don't know how the Redskins possibly could have defended it. And there were so many options for Luck. If maybe you don't have a quarterback as smart as Luck or can see the field as well as him, maybe that play doesn't work as well. But, gosh, when you have a guy like him and you have a guy like Frank Reich designing plays, I think sometimes people kind of forget about just how good Reich is as an offensive mind. I mean, remember this guy did outduel the Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl, and I thought Indianapolis just executed really, really, really well in that game, and there were just so many little things that they were able to do in the kind of once receivers got out onto the field a little bit and the tight ends. That I just felt the secondary was frustrated the entire day.
So what is your take on this Green Bay team? Obviously when you think of Green Bay, first thing you think of is Aaron Rodgers. And I know I chalked it up in the preseason. We like to go through the schedule. I go, well, I think they're going to lose to Aaron Rodgers. I'd pick, even though we have had some success, I'd pick Aaron Rodgers every single time. But it's not a great Packers team. I certainly think they're going to play better.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a couple weeks ago when you guys made the point about, gosh, look at all the great quarterbacks the Redskins are going to play this year. And it's true, but then I start looking around the rest of the league. Got me thinking. I started counting up the quarterbacks in the league, and I'm thinking, most teams can say they're going to play, half their games against great quarterbacks. I mean, it's just the quarterback play at the upper level in this league is so good. So, yeah, I see this as a test with Rodgers. It's obviously physically he's diminished in his ability to not run around, but it looked like he did just fine standing in the pocket like Tom Brady the other day. It's going to be a good test for this team. Again, if the Redskins get the kind of pressure they got, the other day, I think they can make a dent. I just don't think they're going to run into something like they did last week with just so many picks in the they tried that. I think they'll, kind of compensated for that. I expect it to be a good game. I really think that this is a good opportunity, a good test for this Redskins team. And I think the way that they want to play physically, it should match up pretty well against Green Bay.